G'day, freedom lovers. How are we all today? Rightio. So I guess we better start with sorry for not being there Friday. Yeah, it was a rather interesting week we've been having here in the house. It wasn't me in Crook, it was the bloody kids. So yeah, we've had all sorts of sounds such as that going on quite a bit. It has not been fun, I can tell you. I got a lovely case of food poisoning, and I'd just like to thank the Cardwell Servo just near the truck stop there for the food poisoning. It was a wonderfully tasting, what was it, a spring roll sitting in the Bay Marie for God knows how long that caused all the pain. G'day, Cherry. Thank you. I am feeling better. I had my first solid turd today, so I was pretty happy about that. Yesterday there was nothing, so I was starting to think maybe these wonderful tablets I got that solves my problem may have had an adverse reaction, but that's all good. Everything's come good now. Thank you for hoping I feel better. Alrighty then. So I guess we probably should get straight into things. The usual good old Patreons, Jeannie, Lee, Jennifer, Gaza, Mark, Carla, Karina, and Ruben. Thank you guys very much. Those donations are going to go a long way towards making the show a little bit better, including the purchase of this soundboard. And also thank Fiona for her personal contribution, reaching out to do that. And sorry, Shane, I didn't notice that you'd dropped something into the PayPal situation there back in December. So long overdue. Thanks for that, mate. Much appreciated. If you want to become a Patreon and get the extra bonus content, there is bonus content there. So, jump on, become a Patreon. It's not just throwing money away for nothing. You do get something special. And as soon as I get some more time, I'm going to add to that. There is more to add. I've got plenty of footage here. I just got to find the time to do it, So, yeah, it's been an interesting week, hasn't it? We've had all sorts of cool stuff happening. I was going to bring in some stuff and I didn't quite. I'm just going to quickly bring it in now. But how good has it been this week? So many cool things have happened. And of course, the tyrants have not stopped, as if they're going to turn around and go, oh, yeah, you got us. We were wrong. You can always hope, but we are dealing with narcissists here. We're dealing with absolute megalomaniacal lunatics, and they will never admit that they are wrong. They have to be forced into that situation. And, good on Clive Palmer for, paying for the situation. You know what? Before I do that, let's just get started off with a nice little bit of humor to start the day. Oh, hang on, we've got another. Courage is the cure. G'day. How are ya? Good to see you again, Robin. You had me in tears this week. I was watching a couple of your shows. I nearly crashed the truck. What can I say? It was very, very funny stuff. I like the new attitude you've got going in some of those ideas that are coming out. But I thought I'd start out with something a little bit on the humorous side. I seen this, and I don't know if it's real or if it's really well put together, but it got me laughing. Indeed, what are the chances? I have no idea. But it looked pretty funny. Anyway, I think we should probably start off with a wonderful statement here by good old Albu. It's another example of him really losing his marbles these days.
My fellow Australians, I think they've got the name by now. I think they got that. I know at the beginning of the campaign they said people didn't know me, but I reckon they've got it. Down. No. Can we have order, please? Can we have a bit of order? I intend to run an orderly government and it starts here, so behave.
He's looking a bit worried. Hang on, it started up again. He's looking a bit worried. I think it's time to give Albo the old I think it's definitely time for a flush for good old elbow. There's another video here, but it doesn't want to load for some reason. So I might just try something a little bit different. And let's see if we can load it this way. Present. Okay, let's try that. Browser's having trouble. Well, that's not bloody helpful, is it? Share screen. We'll try it this way. All right. And it comes up black. Wow. That's not helpful. Not helpful at all. Not helpful at all. Oh well, it was another one of elbow. I don't know. Could you actually hear that? Like it come out black, but could you hear it? G'day, Jake. So Soy, how are you, mate? Calling off the dogs. Good old elbow greasy. Hi, mate. Mate, you're all good. Yeah, like I said earlier, I had my first solid turd, so I'm pretty happy about that. Louder flush, please. All right, let's see if I can work on a louder flush. Why aren't the sounds coming through as loud as they should? That a Peter? A louder flush, specifically for elbow. We're going to give him the. Yeah, computer does say no. It's not fair. It's not being nice to me. Not being nice at all. So I guess we will go into the important stuff. You know, there's still the most important logo in town at the moment. You know, and I've got to make sure I keep that going. I've got my Make Elbow Go Away hat going. I think we're going to have to wear it as often as possible until he goes away. I'm certainly not the only one in Australia, because have a look at all these people. An amazing turnout in Franga to let everybody know that we've had enough of Elbow and the entire Labor Party. Let's hope it works. Let's hope it works. I see the Advanced Truth truck is getting out with the logo and obviously handing out those amazing posters and whatnot. I want one to put out in my front lawn, to be honest. I'll have to see if I can get onto them, have one sent my way. Get that out of the road. Wonderful cartoon. Really does say it all. Really does say it all. Voters are unhappy about the cost of living, the Voice, released detainees, the family car tax, and the decline in social cohesion. Sweet. Nobody even mentioned my lying. There's just so many things to pick on Elbow about. It's hard to remember them all. Speaking of which, he actually posted this on his own webpage, and boy, is it doing the rounds on Twitter with all sorts of amazing comments. Personally, I think he just got out on day release. Like, I mean, the position of his fingers, the awkward stance, the ridiculous look on his face. Yeah, it says handicapped to me. You know, I don't want to pick on handicapped people, but, you know, I mean, it's Elbow. I can't think of anything more handicapped than Elbow. Like, I mean, I think I'm picking on handicapped people by referring them to look like Elbow. I'm sorry. It's horrible. I don't understand. He actually posted that himself, and I think it's a state of his mental decline. Really, you know, we're really in a state here where Elbow is rapidly moving towards a Biden-like situation, you know. And here's another good video that Laura sent to me.
At White House Senior Living, our residents feel right at home. Our vibrant facility offers delightful activities and outings, round-the-clock professional care, and exquisite house-made meals.
Well, I've been eating everything that's put in front of me. I've been eating all Italian foods, basically.
And ice cream.
And ice cream, chocolate chip ice cream.
White House Senior Living, where residents feel like presidents.
And I'm starting to think that Parliament House is also deserving of such a video at this particular state. And, you know, I wanted to show the other video here, but it's just not playing. It's not playing. Maybe if I try and load it while I'm not doing something else, because it seems to have rejected it a few times. Will it be nice? Uploading, processing, and a big FU comes out at the other end. Why that one? That's just not fair. Anyway. Oh, enough of picking on Elbow. Apparently, Biden's been in for some health checks. Let's have a listen to what they've got to say about
Breaking news in our health lead, President Biden's physician has just released his report on the president's annual physical. The routine exam comes at something of a critical time as the 81-year-old president faces concerns among even Democratic voters about his age and fitness. Let's bring in CNN's MJ Lee at the White House. MJ, let's start with you. We also got Sanjay coming. What is Biden's physician saying about the president's health?
Yeah, Jake, here is that letter that we have been waiting for from Dr. Kevin O'Connor. This is the president's physician. And I'm just going to tell you what the headline is. And it was something we expected, given what the president said earlier today, that everything had gone well. Dr. O'Connor saying that the president feels well and that this year's physical identified no new concerns. He also goes on to say that he continues to be fit for duty and fully executes all of his responsibilities without any exemptions or accommodations. I'll let Sanjay get into some of the medical details here, but I think it just bears stating, we obviously care a great deal about the president's physical health because he holds the highest office in the land and because he is 81 years old. He will be 86 by the time that he gets to the end of a second term, if he has a second term. And you know that there have been some discussions and questions raised about whether it would be fitting for the president to take a cognitive test. And we just learned from the White House that the president decided not to do that, or rather his doctors decided that that wasn't necessary. This is what Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters just a few minutes ago on why they made that decision. Take a listen.
The president's doctor has said, if you look at what this president, the president who is also the commander-in-chief, he passes a cognitive test every day, as he moves from one topic to another topic, understanding the granular level of these topics.
Now, of course, the president's age, his health.
Well, I think that's enough of that. Like, seriously, he passes the mental cognitive test every day, as we can clearly see. Yeah, righto. I think we need to put Elbow under a cognitive test as well. And the point I'm trying to make here, we got the leader of the free world and the leader of Australia, and both of them are about as useless as a bag full of assholes. And yeah, their brains are just not there. Absolute idiots. They've plummeted both countries into absolute economic ruin. Both of them are being overrun with an excessive amount of immigration, or, in Biden's case, he's just opened the door to massive floodgates. And I don't think Elbow's done much better, really. Bloody horrific. The world we live in. What can I say? Maybe I got one too many videos. Let's try that. I really want to give Elbow, what he deserves. But I'll come back to that instead of wasting your time. So here's another one that I thought, actually, we should keep going with the old memes, because that's usually how we start. And I've kind of gotten sidetracked on the Elbow scenario. So this one's an oldie, but a goodie. Global warming activists standing on ice with nooses around their necks. You've probably seen it many times before. It was just getting pumped on my feed so many times. I just kind of felt like it needed to be put on the show. Maybe it was the gods telling me it must happen. What else have we got? Good old Canada. Trudeau Liberal Justice Minister Arif Virani says that putting Canadians under house arrests on suspicion that they may commit a hate crime in the future will help to de-radicalize people who are learning things online. How dare they learn things? That is just such a horrible thing to do. All this learning online. All you people, are you ready for house arrest? Maybe they'll let me entertain you while you're under house arrest. We can keep learning, I mean, seriously, these people are absolute lunatics. Friggin' madness, In relation to that, I've seen this one today as a good one. Remember when everyone knew pro wrestling was fake and they finally admitted it and the fans didn't care and continued to watch it anyway? We're almost there with politics and the media. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. Leading into Queensland's tyranny. More fines. We're going to increase all the fines again because Queensland's highest fines in the country were not high enough. Thanks, guys. In the meantime, crime's running rampant, but don't worry, we're going to sort out all them pesky motorists. That's the important thing. And while we're talking about motorists, I've seen this wonderful post. I didn't need to say anything further about the EV scenario here because this wonderful lady has summed it right up. Welcome to the Bowen Albanese wonderful world of net zero. For just $92,990, I just rounded off $93,000 plus on-road costs, you can drive away in a brand new made in China LDV ET60. Dream of weekends camping away, caravanning or boating? Forget it. This beauty has a towing load of 1 ton, 1,000 kilograms. Pretty sure that's 1 ton. And is only available in 2-wheel drive. Wonderful. Very, very practical for any camping family or working life person who might find themselves in a muddy situation on site. With a driving range of 330 kilometers, halved when towing or carrying a load, you better go without free floor mats and ask for the salesman to throw in a diesel generator and a jerry can. You can just read a book or two while you wait between 1 and 9 hours for a recharge. Not convinced? Here's the kicker. It's carbon neutral as long as you ignore the 3,050 kilos of steel, copper, lithium, nickel, magnesium, cobalt, graphite, zinc, and rare earths, etc. Don't forget to turn a blind eye to the coal-fired power used in the factory, the diesel trains, trucks, and ships used for transport, and the fossil fuels you will use to charge it at night in the comfort of your own garage. Virtue signaling sure is an expensive business. Sums it right up, don't you think? Really does. All right, let's have a look at some comments here. I used to like, don't risk your economy. Yeah, definitely. It's gone beyond that now, isn't it? Like watch your economy die, G'day, Christian. How are you, mate? Parties meet a cab driver who slaps his cab because he is homeless. Go to caravan parks and car parks. You make people homeless in the next pandemic. There you go. Fines are not constitutional. Wow. If you go to the Know Your Rights group, you can find all about fines. I've personally used their stuff and I've found it to be quite effective, but delivery is everything and knowledge is power. Hopefully we'll be getting some guys from Know Your Rights coming in at some point. They're making, I hear talk that they may be making their way up to North Queensland. Made in China. That's right. I'd never bought a new car with half a million. It's paid off. Exactly. And for those who tuned in last week, my friend Mark come in and said the same thing. He bought his Mercedes, second hand, and he never regrets it, but he certainly regrets the hybrid that he's got. And, go back to that show for that comment. There's some more user feedback straight from somebody who's owned one. And if that's not good enough, go and have a look at what was his name? Rowan Atkinson had to say about it. Of course, it's all his fault that EV sales have declined in England, apparently. We're running over a polymer car because you sold battery. I don't know. I would have called it a good start myself. Yeah, no worries. G'day, Mark James. How you going, mate? Sips, bit early for me, mate. Or is that you warning me of another impromptu arrival? I think it's important what's going on. All right. So speaking of what's going on, let's keep going on. So if your city bans straws but hands out free needles, you're being governed by idiots. Well, I think that's pretty safe to say. We've all seen Elbow. This was a wonderful piece of art I think we can all really reject. And it got me thinking, I mean, as soon as I seen them banning swastikas back in the day, I thought to myself, I noticed it was because they started acting like this. That's why they needed to ban the swastikas. They were afraid they were going to be slapped on their campaign posters. Surprised nobody's actually gone around on Labor posters slapping swastikas on their foreheads, to be honest. I'm not suggesting that we should do that by any means. I would never suggest such a thing. It's completely out of character for me. But, I'm just surprised. That's all. Anyway, so good old the LGABC group have gone and they're being apparently. I'll just read it as it is. Princeton professor says zoophilia is morally permissible, demands LGBTQI plus add a Z. As if the LGABC hadn't gone far enough. No, it's time to add another letter. It's been a few weeks. Let's keep moving along. And of course, this comes with some more amazing features. You can go to the Dutch manufacturer who created the world's first baby sex doll, because that wasn't fucked up enough, now offering dog sex dolls for zoophiles. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, here comes the cognitive test. How did you read this? Come on, be honest. After that, wonderful presentation there, what was on your mind when you seen that? Starts at 12:15 here. Wow, that's a good hour away, mate. You're not being ignored. Your shit's coming up, dude. Album cover. That's seriously not what you thought first? I didn't think so. An album cover. Rightio. So the subliminal messaging didn't get there. Nobody wants to say it, do they? Yeah, anal bum cover. I'm sorry, that's what I seen. I had to read it about 5 times before I could see what it really said. I'll admit it. So, not one of us regrets not taking it. In fact, we become increasingly grateful that we didn't fall for it, especially this week as we get into the news a little bit further. Here's a letter actually I found. Apparently, it's been disclosed now, but coming from the Cairns Hinterland Hospital Service, where they've basically said, please don't make us force people to take these things because we are afraid we're going to lose staff. Feel free to come back and pause and have a big read through that at some point. I think points 1 and 2 are the most important here. The complexities for different requirements for various age groups and comorbidities amongst staff. It would be very complex to deliver on such a directive and would put a significant logistic impost on our staff, e.g. in HR, who are already quite stretched. And 2, the changing data around vaccine effectiveness and the level of hesitancy in our staff makes it highly likely that some staff members may not comply with such a direction. This may result in material staff losses, and of course they're still appeasing. While we absolutely support the recommendation for staff to have up-to-date vaccinations, if we were to lose staff through non-compliance with the health employment directive, it would greatly impact on our ability to deliver clinical services. Yeah, it says it all, really, doesn't it? Even the hospitals themselves knew that it was a bad idea. Sorry, I know I generally would think nuclear power was a good idea, but when it was suggested that it's put near Anglesey, a place where we used to go holidaying all the time, I suddenly thought, I don't know about that. I've actually got footage, and that's one of the things I didn't get around to doing as well. Dead fish floating down the Anglesey River, and residents believe it had something to do with the mine and the power station. Of course, the environmental ministers denied that could ever bech a thing, though. And I mean, they're such trustworthy people. Why wouldn't we trust them, hey? Why wouldn't we trust them? Yeah, that's pretty sad, isn't it, Jake? That is very sad. Cool. It wasn't just me. Thank you, Cherry. And the government has only this week pushed for 5 or its 6th booster. I'm pretty sure they're already up to 5. They're probably pushing for 6 by now. Yeah. On MSN. I'll have to suss that one out. I'll have to stick with what I got, though, because I'm got to keep moving. Lovely piece of art. I have to thank, I think, what was his name? It'll come to me because I got a video of him. Anyway, wonderful piece of art, and it was One Nation that I found that on. Wonderful, wonderful. It really does sum it up. Actually, I really want to like the greens there, the frog and shit. It's just perfect. That is so the greens. It's, yeah. I don't know who come up with it. I'd like to shake their hand, though. It's genius. Brilliant artwork. And of course, we know this. We know this. Once uttered, it allows the incurious mind to slip back into uninformed ignorance. Good old conspiracy theorist. And of course, when dealing with these people, the best way is to make light of the situation and proudly wear your tinfoil hat. You know, I constantly make jokes about it myself, you know. Craig Kelly, that's who it was. Hey, Craig, this was on Craig Kelly's post. I doubt he come up with. I don't think he's an artist, but you know, he's kind enough to share it. And if you notice, Craig Kelly, PHON, he's gone to One Nation now. I didn't see that coming, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But this picture really does sum it up, particularly when we've got situations with ASIO at the moment. Reveal the name of the traitor politician, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So, which video should we start with? Well, while we were talking about it, because this came in as a bit of a shock, so let's see what the man has to say about it.
Now, a familiar face is returning to politics. Former Liberal Party and United Australia Party member Craig Kelly has been tapped on the shoulder by Pauline Hanson to lead One Nation's federal re-election effort. I caught up with him to discuss his new role.
Yeah, Chris, I'm very excited that I've taken on a role with Pauline Hanson's One Nation. I'll be their national campaign director leading up into the next federal election. My job will be to make sure that we've got good, solid local candidates in every one of the 150 or 151 seats, depending upon the new redistribution, and making sure that we are competitive and to put a real alternate to the Australian people.
Gee, it's hard to keep up with your political career, Craig. You know, you're a Liberal federal MP and then United Australia Party with Clive Palmer, now One Nation. Are you confused inside, or do you love them all?
Look, Chris, I always felt that the Liberal Party left me rather than me leaving the Liberal Party. I still have the same values and beliefs that I signed up for when I joined the Liberal Party. We marched in the streets against the carbon tax. That was Liberal Party that I joined and won in a massive landslide in 2013 under Tony Abbott. Unfortunately, that's not the Liberal Party of today. They've abandoned the idea of opposing carbon taxes. They've actually signed up to net zero, exactly the same as the Labor Party has. Now, Pauline Hanson's One Nation, we oppose net zero. We think it's a nonsense. We think it hands a competitive advantage to China and does enormous damage to the wealth and prosperity of this nation.
Your One Nation is very much Pauline Hanson's party, of course, and you've got a challenge in your home state of New South Wales where 2 of the 3 state MPs have left One Nation, one of them, of course, being the leader, Mark Latham, and there are suggestions that the remaining Upper House MP, Tanya Mihalik, will leave the party with you as federal director. Have you had a word to her? Is she going to stick around or not?
Yeah, look, Tanya's going to stick around. I've known Tanya. She was actually the Labor member for Bankstown. Our seats overlapped when she was a state member of Parliament and I was a federal member of Parliament. So we've known each other for a long time. Don't also forget Malcolm Roberts there in the Senate. Senator Malcolm Roberts is a man of impeccable integrity, doing a great job in the Senate, holding all those bureaucrats to account at Senate estimates. We've also got down there in South Australia, members down in South Australia, Western Australia and Melbourne. So the party is growing And I said, Chris, I'm really looking forward to this opportunity because the country really is at the crossroads. We've seen a situation where living standards, real disposable income in this country has been the lowest in the OECD. Albanese is taking the country backwards, and unfortunately the Liberals are not offering the real opposition that they should be doing. So that's the role we're going to be fulfilling at One Nation.
So just clarify this for me. You've spoken with Tanya Mihalik, the Upper House One Nation MP in New South Wales, and she's committed to staying with the party?
I haven't spoken to Tanya personally the last couple of days, but I know Tanya well. I've spoken to her many times over many years, and I'm sure whatever the issue is. My interest, Chris, is in federal politics. Tanya's the state member of parliament here. I'm convinced that she will stay on and continue to represent One Nation in that state parliament.
Now, what about yourself? Obviously, you're a former federal Liberal MP yourself. Are you going to put yourself up as a candidate, perhaps as a New South Wales senator?
Look, that's all to be decided. One thing I'm actually considering is running against Chris Bowen in his seat at McMahon. He's a member of parliament. He's got the monkey ear of Blackout Bowen. He's driving these net zero policies. He's abandoned the constituents of his electorate. Like what he's doing on cars, putting up the price of four-wheel drives and utes, which everyone in his own electorate drive while making Teslas cheaper, which is okay, might be great if you're the member for Balmain. So that's also something I'm considering as well.
Tell me more about this. This is tantalising. You might run as a lower house candidate for One Nation against Chris Bowen.
Well, I believe that as One Nation, we have a real chance in a lot of seats in Western Sydney. If you look at it's almost a reverse Teals, where you saw a lot of those northern suburb seats, those traditional, very strong Liberal seats, fall to the Teals. I believe the reverse is possible in southwest Sydney, especially when you've got the Labor Party abandoning what is their traditional constituency. You look at how they've been pushing up rents with record migration, housing prices. A lot of the policies of the Labor Party today no longer represent the working class of Western Sydney.
Well, tell us you'll do it. Tell us you will run against Chris Bowen.
Well, sir, I know it'd be exciting, but that's a bit of water to flow under the bridge. I said I've got to organise 150 seats, and Chris Bowen's seat will be one of them that we'll be looking for a very good candidate, which may even be myself.
Well, it's a tantalising prospect. I tell you what, you'd get some barracking from us if you were to take on Chris Bowen. Thanks for joining us, Craig. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks again.
Wouldn't that be a sight to see him going up against Chris Bowen? I think anybody going up against Chris Bowen's got to be in with a good chance, eh? So, interesting videos. Wow. It's probably a little bit impromptu, out of timing, but this is a little bit how I felt this week.
I am Cornholio. I need TV for my bunghole.
And earlier today...
Please come out. Please. Yeah, me too.
It had to be done. I've got a soundboard and I found my few favorite things so far. Anyway. Where do we go from here? I haven't really thought too much about it. My head's still a bit cloudy, to be honest. Why not?
Just think of the power of the combination of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and big data. So it's a combination of the different technologies which really bring the fundamental change. And finally, I think we have to be prepared for a world where we see a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological dimensions. So it will be a world integrating the physical, biological, and the digital dimensions. So it will be a new world. And I'm looking for a minister in 10 years. Probably it will be completely different from what it is now.
Yeah, pretty scary stuff, eh? Pretty scary stuff. I'm having a bit of trouble understanding what's going on in some of these chats here. Yeah, that's a good one. I've watched Get Smart in so long. I've really got to go back and watch some of that. Wow, there's a lot being. Okay, I don't even waste my time with weird Cody looking things. G'day, Lisa. How are ya? And here's Rachel's novel, which doesn't look like it all made it all the way through. I don't know. You can have a read of that while I try and figure out what I'm going to do next. I think this is a pretty important issue to go through, I guess. Let me come back up here. Well, why not? We'll keep with the humour for a little bit, eh?
Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. And nothing has set lefties off more in the past 48 hours than the Argentinian Trump, Javier Milei, meeting the OG. If you want to trigger the lefty in your life, just send them this clip.
President!
Make Argentina great again.
Let's go to Lefties Losing It headquarters, MSNBC, where former Democrat Senator Claire McCaskill was having this mini meltdown.
It is ridiculous that the New York Times fact-checked Joe Biden on something. I mean, he vomits lies. Trump vomits lies. And every day, over and over and over again. And it's just ridiculous that the New York Times is doing a fact-check on Biden while they let Trump...
How crazy do you have to be to think the leftist New York Times isn't left enough and that the current US president should not even be fact-checked? Now, another blast from the past with this important message.
I am offended that our children are not receiving affordable gender reassignment surgery along with hormone blockers and access to abortions. This alone is a threat to our democracy.
Now, every week I speak to Douglas Murray, and a regular topic for discussion is the West's suicidal stupidity, the way it has championed self-loathing. Well, what would happen if there was another major world war? Who's going to fight for countries they hate?
If UK was to go to war, would you join the military?
No. I'm not from the country, so no.
First of all, I'm not a UK citizen, I'm an immigrant.
I'm Welsh?
No, unfortunately not. I'm not from this country originally, you know?
No. We're Irish, so...
We don't like the UK military.
No, thank you.
Where are you from?
Brazil.
Do you live here?
Yes.
Would you go to war for this country?
No.
I'm Pakistani, so...
Are you a resident?
I'm a resident. I've got dual nationality.
You guys live in the UK?
Yeah, we do.
Would you join the military?
No. We're not from this country.
If they say it's compulsory, what would you do?
I'll just go back to eat. Go back to my country. No, I'll just go back to my country.
And good news, folks, some new pronouns have just dropped.
My pronouns. So, of course, we have he, him, his, himself, and they, them, theirs, themselves. And then we also have void, void self, end, ender, enders, and ender self. Death, deaths, death self. Pix, pixel, pickles, pix, pixel, pixels, pixel self. Vial, vials, vial self.
Pixels, that's a cute one. I'm a pixel self. I might go with that for a couple of days, see how it feels. Now let's hear from this young lass making an important point.
Lesbians and trans men do not owe digestible concepts of our identities to other queer people. We use reductive, pithy, simplistic phrases for political power. Phrases like, trans men are men, lesbians are not attracted to men. These statements are true enough in the context of the cis-heteropatriarchy that they're meaningful to help us get human rights.
Powerful stuff. Now, we started with Trump derangement syndrome. Let's end with more of the same. Here, a young woman employs the tactics of the demented left who scream racism and white supremacy without ever backing up their claims.
Are you voting for Trump? Yep. White supremacist. How? How can you say that? How can I say if you vote for Donald Trump, you're a white supremacist? How? How? Because you support that man in office.
That's not an argument. I'm gonna need proof that that makes me a white supremacist. You're gonna have to break down the argument.
That's not my job to say that.
You just accused me of being a white supremacist. You should be able to back that up.
Are you voting for Donald Trump?
I sure am.
That's my proof.
Are you voting for Joe Biden?
Yes, I am.
Then you're a pedophile.
No.
Yes, you are.
A pedophile.
You're a pedophile. How? You like to sniff kids.
Sums it up, really, doesn't it? I think we've pretty much got the ultimate, response now for anybody who wants to turn around and say you're a white supremacist for wearing a hat like this or something. You just turn around, well, you must be a pedophile. Problem solved. If we're gonna be childish, I'll reduce myself to your level and we'll just call you pedos from here on in. All you lefties, instantly pedos. Problem solved. Anyway, I got a good laugh out of that. And like all the ridiculous pronouns shit that they come out with, even when she slips up and says pickles, give it a moment. There'll probably be a pronoun soon enough too. There's no stupidity left that they can't go to. I think I don't know, they'll probably come up with something. Like I'm not as imaginative as they are when it comes to coming up with dumbass ideas. But anyway, we should probably load some of these articles up and get into the failings of the week. I'm pretty confident I know where this is going to go. I mean, that was a good one last week. Good old trans milk. It's amazing how many people I've spoken to during the week go, did you know about trans milk? And they're like, what the fuck? Yes, that's a thing. That's a thing. It's disturbing. That is the world we live in. Personally, I think we know where we want to put that. And we want to slam the door on it as well. Anyway, what we're really doing, though, is bringing this in. Share screen. And we want this one. Here's our wonderful articles for the week. Gates-funded Gavi takes aim at memes, calls them disinformation super spreaders. I love the combination of disinformation and super spreaders, using the ultimate in fear campaigns there, It's astounding. Like, memes have featured in anti-vaccine messaging for centuries. For centuries. That in itself is just, I'm speechless. Memes have featured in anti-vaccine messaging for centuries. Wow. I didn't realize that vaccines had been around for centuries. Is that what's been keeping us alive all this time? It's been a big mystery in my mind. How has the human race survived without big pharma all these centuries? Well, apparently big pharma's been getting vaccines around for centuries. Therefore, there must have been anti-vaccine messaging to go along with it. It's just only logical, isn't it? And their power to spread harmful health disinformation is growing. Really? It's all because of memes. It's got nothing to do with the body count. It's got nothing to do with the people who've got myocarditis and pericarditis and horrible bloody big red splotches all over their bodies and feet turning black and all that other wonderful stuff. Nah, it's memes. It's almost as good as, the only reason EV sales are down in the UK is because Rowan Atkinson decided he doesn't like it. My new pronoun. Wow, I'm not even going to try and say that, dude. But I think it goes right in with the alphabet soup that we're dealing with in a lot of cases. Hey, really are living in a mental asylum. Yep, definitely. Except the wardens, being the sane ones, us are the ones being institutionalized. Anyway, oh my God, this is just, righto. A true understanding of the world and how it works would be indistinguishable from insanity. On that, I've got a piece of philosophy that goes along with this one. Sanity seems insane to an insane person. You know, I actually pitched that to the Catter Party a while ago, and he stopped. Was it Robbie Catter? And he stopped and he looked at the sky for a minute, going, "Yeah, you're fucking right." Well, I don't think he swore. He might have wanted to, but anyway. Sorry, I should stop. I've been trying to stop. I've been really good up until recently. It's anyway. Hard to beat trans milk. Yeah. Men chest feeding via chemically made breast milk. Yep. Anal bum covers for power spreaders. You know what? That might be the next thing from the instead of masks and whatnot. This new virus. It's super sneaky. It climbs up your bumhole. Quick, we need anal bum covers. She asked to go anywhere. To go take away from you. Okay, so we're going to keep moving. So anyway, I just thought there's a whole article you can have a laugh at if you want to go to Children's Health Defense and have a read of that one. To me, you don't need to go past this, anti-vaccine messaging for centuries. This tells you the intellectual capacity of the person who's going on about this garbage. So while we're on about amusing constructs, wow, that's different. We got some red ones today. We got a few being fully utilized. That was not looking like that last night, I can tell you. So we've got a couple of fully utilized wind farms, but in Melbourne, most of them are doing sweet FA. Wow. It's actually not a bad day for wind power. There's a few things actually happening, but for the most part, they're doing sweet FA. There's the nightmare up in Cairns doing 2/5 of fuck all. So yeah, that's a good website there. Just punch in that address. It's always a good one to check out. Aneroid. It sounds a bit like hemorrhoid to me. Anyway, moving along. Just thought I'd chuck that in. We should probably make that a weekly thing and have a quick look and see how well wind power is not working. I was shocked. I think that's one of the best I've ever seen it work, to be honest. I like to look at it every now and then and laugh. All right. So, pic that appears to be taken inside a 1980s McDonald's sweeps internet before someone finally spots it. So, in short, we've got this picture here. Let's come down to it. Where is it? Hey, where'd the picture go? Picture not found. That's not what's supposed to happen. Reload it. It was there yesterday, I swear. Nothing works today. I'm not having fun. This is not fun today. Paste and go. Oh, they've removed the picture. It doesn't matter what browser I put it in. It was there yesterday, but the picture has now been removed. I should have grabbed it when I had the chance. Is it still here? No. So the picture's been removed. There you go. So the picture's been removed, but basically what it was an AI photo of a dude standing there or sitting there in a McDonald's, and he had sleeves, but his chest was exposed, his fingers were all weird, the text was garbled. It was clearly an AI one, but it was supposed to have a go at the standard fashions of the time or something to that effect. Anyway, that ruined it. Moving on, what do we got here? In the interest of the people, I thought I'd better point this one out that people should have a look at, because it's going to tie into a video that I'm going to show you. So if you haven't checked this out, it's actually pretty good. They haven't done anything in the last 3 months, but they've been getting down ASIC's throat quite a bit. Good old John Adams and whatnot. I'm curious to see how it's all going to turn out. But I noticed that our good friend, Senator Malcolm Roberts, was somewhere onto it himself. Except I haven't got that video. Where's that gone? Oh, man. I'm not having a good day. That video end up somewhere it shouldn't have. Nope. All right. I'm not having fun today. Anyway, moving along. That one blew up my face too. Woolworths makes major announcement on pricing effective immediately. And like, I'm not even going to bother reading it. I'm just going to go and point out what I noticed. Woolworths meatballs. Woolworths Heart Smart. Woolworths dried chicken, diced chicken. Wouldn't be surprised if it was dry. Woolworths cooked chicken drumsticks. You're starting to see a pattern emerge here. Woolworths. You know, what were they? 30 cents off of spring onions. Wow. Doritos, an American product. You know, Pino Clean. Wow. From $7 now to $3.50. That's actually a decent chunk. You know, if you use Pino Clean. You know, personally, I don't go for those kind of chemical things. You know, Dettol. You know, from $13 to $7.80. That's only the wipes, not the actual Dettol itself, which is far more useful. Anyway. There's only a handful of things, and it's really not that much, and it's mostly Woolworths' own stuff. You know, the Woolworths' own range is, you know, quite poor in its quality. But is anyone inspired? I'm not. I'm going to put Woolies down for a fail because I think their announcement to lower prices is just pathetic. After they've been price gouging, they need to reduce all prices, not just hand-picked stuff, mostly their own stuff. So Woolworths can go for a fail. Take your notes and see what you think, you know. And while we're on the topic of supermarkets, it looks like reducing carbon in society has been very effective because supermarket shelves have been depleted of soda water and soft drink amid a low supply of carbon dioxide. You know, and we all know it's an evil, evil thing. It's probably a good thing because can you imagine the damage we're doing to the environment every time you open a bottle of Pepsi? It's just horrible to think all these people polluting our environment every time they open a Coke or a Pepsi or one of these Coke Pasitos, which I didn't mind up until, you know, 2010. Codex Alimentarius came in, took control of the Australian Food and Drug Administration, and started adding these harmful chemicals in there, such as 211 and whatnot, and it ruined the taste of the entire Kirk's line, in my opinion. So, in short, a shortage of carbon dioxide is impacting soft drink supplies in supermarkets. Shoppers have reported supermarket shelves are empty of sparkling beverages. Seems like Coke and Pepsi have got plenty there. What's next? Major suppliers, BOC says it is prioritizing supplies for medical safety and water treatment customers. Interesting. So, let me just get to the bottom. BOC is building a new CO2 processing facility in Victoria, expected to be operational in the second half of 2024, with a capacity that produces 60,000 tonnes of beverage-grade quality CO2 annually. How much of a carbon tax do they have to pay? That's the $1 million question. So I put that one in, obviously, so I can make as much fun of the green agenda as humanly possible. Wonder now Woolies has a price cheaper. I'm not sure. WMD. I'm not sure what you mean by WMD, man. I get lost. It's the same as this MAGA thing. Like, I mean, does it mean make Albo go away, make Argentina great again, make Australia great again? You know, every time I see the alphabet soup, I just get confused, man. Their prices are out of control. That is most certainly. But it's okay. I'm pretty sure Albo is going to launch an inquiry into that. So anyway, here's the real big news of the week. Court ruling on vax mandates opens way for Compo. Hang on, this is out of order. Was it this one? Yes, this is where I wanted to start. Mandating COVID-19 vaccines for some Queensland frontline workers found to be unlawful, judge rules. This is the most important news. And astoundingly, you know, I spoke to my parents in Victoria and they had no idea that this had happened. Very interesting. I noticed a few people also on social media saying, why wasn't Victoria being notified of this? Very interesting. Very interesting. In short, some Queensland frontline workers challenged their workplace vaccine mandates in the Supreme Court in 2022. A judge has ruled partially in their favor. I like the way they're using these things, partially in their favor, like it's ruled in their favor. That's all there is to it. Finding the directive breached a section of the Human Rights Act. No shit. What's next? A QPS spokesman said for the service would carefully consider the judgment and our options moving forwards. A judge has ruled that mandating COVID-19 vaccines for some Queensland frontline workers was unlawful based on human rights grounds, which is very different to judges partially ruled in their favor. Funny the way. So they're just hoping that you just look at this bit and you don't dive in a little bit deeper into these important issues. Very, very important. Weapons of mass destruction. Thanks, mate. So is SodaStream a weapon of mass destruction? I don't know, but, you know, it could be an environmental disaster. Could be an environmental disaster. So anyway, moving forward, dozens of Queensland Police Service and Queensland Ambulance Services staff challenged their workplace mandates in the Supreme Court in 2022 after they refused to comply with the directives. Well done. Pat each and every one of them on the back for being glorious human beings. The two groups were tested and were testing the legality of the directions on several grounds of the Judicial Review Act and the Human Rights Act. I like it when they use words, not this alphabet soup shit. On Tuesday, Justice Glenn Martin found the applicants had not established any ground under the Justice Review Act of unreasonableness. However, he did find the directives breach Section 58 of the Human Rights Act, which states that all public service employees must give proper consideration to human rights before making a decision, and that they must act and make decisions that are compatible with human rights. In a written decision, Justice Martin determined the Commissioner of Police failed to comply with this section of the Act, despite being provided human rights compatibility assessments, and based on this, declared that the QPS, Queensland Police Service, directions were unlawful. Unlawful, just as we all knew, because, you know, there were people who kept saying things such as, I'll find it. It'll come to it anyway. Well, we get the idea. Moving on, though, court ruling on vax mandate opens way for Compo and return to work. This is how Clive Palmer brought down Queensland's controversial, now unlawful COVID mandates. Now, that's some proper reporting. You know what? I think we need to put COVID mandates down for a fail. Anyone guessing which one I think everybody's going to vote for this week? Creating a potential firestorm for thousands of public servants. This should be interesting. Queensland public servants who were stood down or sacked after refusing to comply with COVID-19 vaccine mandates could be back to work and seek compensation following a landmark legal win by a group of police officers and paramedics. Brain function today. Thousands of workers were stood down in the past 3 years after they balked at mandatory jabs imposed by government departments following the pandemic outbreak. Yeah, we're still waiting for that pandemic outbreak. It was a bloody big no-show. The mandate, applied to police, health, education, corrections, and airport workers. On Tuesday, 74 police and QAS staff won their 2.5-year legal fight against the state government, with Supreme Court Justice Glenn Martin finding the Queensland Police Service Directive unlawful and the Queensland Ambulance Service Directive was ineffective. So we all get the basic gist of this. Let's move along. There's good old Clive. You know, as I understand it, he's going to be wanting his $3 million or something that he pumped into it back. That's going to hurt the government, and no doubt that's probably why they're putting fines up, I guess. They're going to pay for it somehow. So, good morning, Adrian. How are you, mate? Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Will jab lovers sue for getting a placebo? They should be thankful if they got a placebo. but they were still forced and they still didn't know what they were going to get, did they? Most public servants are now outsourced to private businesses. Government off the hook again. Rightio. I'm about to get in the car, so COVID mandate is my vote. All right, so it's already one vote. Not even waiting for the rest of it. Mark's jumping in for the COVID mandate as a vote. I'll mark that down for you, buddy. Lost my job, became homeless, now in New South Wales, trying to get back on my feet. Wow. This court case hopefully will give you some reprieve. Maybe you can... I've heard Clive state that he's willing to fund other people, so maybe it's worth giving him a go, Sharon. That's horrible to hear. It's horrible to hear that that's what they've done to you. I hope that this landmark court case gives you the ability to hopefully sue the people who have done that and get everything in your life back together. Best of luck. So, even though Ms. Carroll revoked the vaccine mandate on December 12, 2022, Justice Martin stated his finding of unlawfulness was still valid. The QAS direction was also revoked by last September. Asked if the decision would affect other public servants, lawyer Justin Sibley, who represented 54 police officers and staff in one of the 3 applications, told the Courier Mail it was still to be considered. The decision finds that the directive was unlawful and it protects only the 54 applicants. In the meantime, lots of other police have been suspended, then terminated. Another law firm represented the other police and QAS staff. The QPS has taken a very draconian approach to those who questioned, then did not comply with the directive, and it created a coercion to be vaccinated. Mr. Sibley said outside the court, people are still being disciplined over these directions. There are police officers with a decade or more of experience who have never had any discipline in the past who have been terminated because they made a decision about their bodily autonomy. In his decision, Justice Martin was scathing of Miss Carroll, calling her evidence about whether she gave proper consideration to the relevant human rights in making the decision in the issue of the mandate vague and inconclusive. She could not recall. Where have I heard that statement before? Could not recall how she received information or what the information was. Could not recall how she received information or what the information was. And she frequently evaded these issues by referring in a vague way to briefings, discussions, summaries, and the like. Her evidence about considering either human rights comparatively assessment number 1 or human rights comparatively assessment number 2 was at best inconclusive, at worst unreliable, the 17-year veteran of the Supreme Court bench stated. And here's the scumbag, with a face nappy hanging off her ear. What a criminal. This one should be in jail, thrown into general population. That's my solution. Justice Martin noted Miss Carroll made the vaccination mandate 18 months into the pandemic. Pandemic. Did I say pandemic? I wonder how that came out. Yet she told the hearing that she did not know whether any police officer who had contracted COVID-19 had given it to a colleague, or how many police had caught it from the community at work, or transmitted it to a community members at work. Leading Queensland criminal lawyer Bill Potts told the Courier Mail the judgment related to human rights and administrative and employment law. We have to remember, of course, that employment is a personal contract between an employer and an employee. And like all contracts, it can be negotiated and conditions can be placed in the contract of employment by commissioners or inspector generals. But they must know that they have considered their obligations regarding human rights, including taking away a person's employment and taking away a person's freedom regarding what they put in their bodies, and balance that against the public safety. Wow. I think we all know how that worked out. Anyway, let's get to the Mr. Palmer bit. Mr. Palmer said, oh, well, yeah, we better start here, I guess. Speaking outside the court yesterday, Mr. Palmer said he was happy to fund further legal avenues to secure compensation for police workers and paramedics. I don't know if you open that up for other people, but I think it'd be nice to see. We could look at the class action for the ambulance workers and the police workers who have been subjected to harassment by their colleagues at the police department on the direction of the government to try and drop this case. So there we go. We've got harassment cases coming forth. This is going to snowball. But this case was never going to be dropped because I'm behind it. I don't scare easily. Mr. Palmer said he would seek costs from the government and would use the money to fight further legal battles. A police spokesman told the Courier Mail last year that 201 QPS members were suspended for failure to comply with the mandatory vaccination directive, including 116 police officers and 85 staff members, who are all, tip my hat to, brave and intelligent people. And what disturbs me the most about this is the only people that were left on the police force and in the ambulance service were the ones that would do as they were told. The good ones with morals and human decency in mind and a good sense of right and wrong were no longer a part of that force, which makes it very, very disturbing situation for the Queensland people. Queensland Health spokesman said Justice Martin's ruling did not impact doctors, nurses, or its other employees, but we will see. Queensland Police Service said in a statement the service acknowledged the decision. We will carefully consider the judgment and our options moving forwards. In other words, they may not take this laying down. They possibly will appeal it. So anyway, let's have a quick look. Throw them all into prison, into the general population. I agree. My son has COVID for the first time. Just a headache and a slight temperature. Alrighty, I still haven't had it. Little Potsman's brother. Bop, bop. Little weed. This is... I don't know. I have to look further into exactly what elements of the human rights were considered. Might have to have a chat to Darren about it. See if he wants to come on the show and chat a little bit about this, eh? Yep, I agree. And such exclusive content. Share hidden information. Okay, I can't click on that, but okay, I'm not sure. I'm not going to condone or endorse this channel that you're putting on there, Julia, because I can't see it. But if people want to give it a try, that's up to them. COVID has never existed, whereas cold flu have been around for a very long time. Yep, and I believe Senator Malcolm Roberts was inquiring. Was it Senator Malcolm Roberts or was it Senator Rennick? One of them was inquiring into the how they exactly those PCR tests worked. COVID vaccines unlawful for Queensland Emergency Services Court rule. I don't think we really need to read another point of view, do we? But it was good to see that, the most tyrannical newspaper in human history is reporting on it. I guess they can't deny the truth any further themselves. COVID-19 vaccine unlawful for emergency services. Supreme Court's fine. It's good to see that people are reporting on it. But it's just interesting that, it didn't make it to a lot of people in Victoria. Very, very interesting. So, loading X, loading. Pauline Hanson today has seen an important victory in the fight for freedom and human rights in Australia. The Queensland Supreme Court today determined that COVID-19 vaccine mandates imposed on police and health workers were unlawful. Queensland Police Service and Queensland Health were wrong to force mandates on organisers. I said that from the start. These mandates were wrong. I said from the start they contravened Section 51, Part 23A. I totally agree, and I'm surprised that wasn't in the court fucking scenario as well, which prohibits civil conscription through the provision of medical services. One Nation was the only party saying it. Well, I don't know about that. I'm pretty sure the Katter Party was saying something to that effect as well. there was, other people in Parliament that certainly stepped up. I don't agree with her statement that One Nation was the only one saying it. Maybe one of the loudest voices, though. I said that this start of the year. So anyway, it was good to see that Pauline had a nice thing to say to the people there. That's a little statement there. It's pretty big news. Anyway, let's keep moving. Childhood vaccine schedule led to the greatest decline in public health in human history. I bet you didn't see that coming. So, this is the third of a series of articles. So, you probably want to get into the other ones if you've got the time. Public health agencies have refused to study or publicly release data comparing the health outcomes of vaccinated and unvaccinated children, according to experts who spoke during Monday's Senate roundtable discussion on federal health agencies and the COVID cartel. The roundtable, hosted by Senator Ron Johnson, also focused on COVID-19 vaccine contamination, the development of COVID-19 vaccines as part of bioweapons research, and on censorship of journalists and scientists. Brian Hooker, PhD, Chief Scientific Officer for Children Health Defense, participated in the roundtable. He told the Defender that the corruption of public health agencies was an issue that came up again and again with solid data during the roundtable. Hooker, who had also appeared on Steve Brannon's War Room on Monday to discuss how the current childhood vaccination schedule is harmful to children's health, said CHD's presence at the roundtable was important. It was very significant for Child Health Defense to have a seat at the table at the briefing, and also significant how much Senator Johnson knew and appreciated our work. He said, "We have a much wider reach than we give ourselves credit for, and I believe we'll get more such invitations to speak to and influence congressional representatives." It's good to see that, this Children's Health Defense is doing some amazing work and really exposing not only the COVID vaccines, but others that are causing clearly something else. It's not just the excess deaths we've got to look at. We've got to look at the massive rise in autism and various other problems, things like SADS and SIDS. It's interesting, everyone's going on about, sudden infant death syndrome for so many years, and no, it's not vaccines, and then all of a sudden the vax mandates come out and we got SADS, sudden adult death syndrome, and boy, did they stop using that quick when they realized what they'd done by connecting the dots for people. So, of course, you guys are welcome to continue to go through this, but it looks like the entire vaccine industry is in a bit of trouble at the moment, and we all can thank the COVID-19 mandates and vaccine bullshit for exposing it all, because, I know prior to that, I was always a bit concerned about these things, especially since our government started forcing it on people. That's when my alarm bells started to ring, and I've certainly been avoiding them for children as long as I can. It's time that it's been exposed. So we can put COVID mandates, we can put the entire vaccine industry in for a fail. But I haven't really failed yet. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? You can take a note. If you think the vaccines industry should be put in for a fail, you can tell me about that. Let's have a quick look at some of these comments. COVID has never existed. Yeah, that's right. That's where we left off, wasn't it? Boggles the mind that the cops couldn't work out Rona was a scam. Well, some did. The MSM needs to be held accountable, as well as all the premiers of each state. They all need to be prosecuted. I believe all in due time. I'm hoping everybody keeps pushing, and eventually we'll get them all. Have to go, but COVID mandates for me. Thanks, Lisa. So that's another one for COVID mandates. I had a feeling that people were going to go for that one. Watched USA Senator Johnson inquiry at Congress this week. Watched via Highwire channel. Goes 4 hours. Mind-blowing evidence about the whole con. Rightio. Thanks, Sharon. If I could find 4 hours, I might give that a watch. The problem is that the grubs will justify their mandate decisions by saying that they were following the best medical advice available. Yeah. But don't they have to show where's the best medical advice? What did you? Somebody's going to swing for it. Somebody's got to be to blame, you know. So moving right along, breaking news: Australia has announced a major victory for the Australian people. Didn't I get that video too? Where is it? Have a read while I try and figure this out. It's that one. It's a bit too long, apparently. Where is it? 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 Doesn't come up when I do that. Doesn't want to show it. Okay, let's try another way. Why is things not working for me today? All right, if I stop sharing that screen and we share that, will it play?
Channel, my name is Jim Ferguson. You actually did a year actor.
That's not it. That didn't work. I had it. I sure I did. Where the hell's it ended up? Sorry, guys. Can we play it from here?
Ralph the Vet here from
Can you guys hear that?
I have some great news to share with every one of you out there. Now, what is that news? Now, for you Senate nerds out there, it's General Business Notice of Motion number 462. But what is that
Can you guys hear that?
motion? Let me read it out to you right now. It says that the Senate acknowledges that the concerning number of excess deaths observed in Australia in 2021 and 2022 has continued into 2023 as evidenced by all-cause provisional mortality from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and that there is a need for further inquiry as to the reasons for these excess deaths. So basically what that means is I put up a motion. That motion said exactly what I just read out, and we voted on it. So for the first time, as far as I'm aware, anywhere in the world, actually, a parliament, a senate, has acknowledged that there is excess deaths, that people are dying, and we don't know why they're dying, and we need to investigate. This is an absolutely massive win. So how did the senators vote? 31 senators supported me, and 30 senators voted against me, against my motion. So the coalition, and of course the UAP, One Nation, etc., all voted in support of this motion. So I'd like to thank everyone who supported me there. But the Labor Party and the Greens voted against my motion. They voted to basically put it in the bin. To the Labor Party and to the Greens, I say, don't you want to shine a light into dark places? Don't you want to know why your fellow Australians are dying in greater numbers than previous years? Don't you care? So, big win once again. The United Australia Party will keep fighting for justice, keep fighting for what is right, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye. Back to work for me.
There you go. Some more good news. So things are looking very good for us, freedom fighters at the moment. Glad that worked, because for some reason it downloaded this video instead of that video. But anyway, it worked. That's the important thing. That's the important thing. So that's a bit of a win. I think it's that's what was it? Hail of the week might have to go to Senator Babet for that one, I think. So I'll give you a bit of a hail to Senator Babet for his good work there. All right, genomics experts. All right, so what did I have here? Fact checkers have been continually wrong throughout the last year. This has gone on. First, they claimed it wasn't there. Now the FDA and the regulations have admitted it's in fact there. Then they claimed DNA contamination found in the COVID. There you go. So DNA contamination is what they're talking about. I probably should have started at the beginning, eh? Gotta stop jumping through things. So anyway, as expected, anything that's inside of a lipid nanoparticle, one would expect to get into a cell. Now we're starting to see early signs of DNA integration. So it most certainly was a DNA altering vaccine, and I feel very sorry for people who are going to have to accept that they've had their DNA altered. It's pretty sad. So, of course, you can go to Chief Nerd's thing and have a look at this video. Well, I don't think we're going to go through the whole 8 minutes. We're going to keep moving. But there you have it. Is more and more proof coming out. Fentanyl bursts bubble of healthcare workers after Supreme Court COVID mandate ruling. So here we're starting to see the fallout already. Hundreds of Queensland healthcare workers are desperate to return to the front line after being stood down over Queensland's health vaccine. Queensland Health's COVID-19 vaccine mandate. But despite crippling workforce shortages, they claim they continue to face barriers for re-employment. Nurses, midwives, doctors, and other healthcare workers are hopeful that the Supreme Court ruling that the mandate was unlawful will help them get back in uniform. The Nurses Professional Association of Queensland claims the court action involved police officers and paramedics. The doctors should not be in court, but seeing patients and saving lives. No shit. Especially these ones who actually have the intelligence to know that this shit is bad. You know, as I was saying to my parents the other night, because they were like, oh, doctors are still trying to push that crap on us. I'm like, you need a new fucking doctor. If your doctor's trying to kill you, you should not be seeing them. It's that simple. Anyway, the cost, both to those fighting the mandate and public expense incurred in enforcing them, must be thoroughly examined. Cara Thomas, Secretary of the Australian Medical Professional Society, said. Actually, it occurs to me, I wonder if people can actually sue any of their doctors for trying to push that, like attempted murder. Like I would be going for attempted murder charges if a doctor recommended that crap to me. Fortunately, I have a smart doctor, but smart enough not to try and push that shit on me at least. Anyway, I'm not going to say too much, but anyway, doctors should not be in court. They should be seeing patients and saving lives. Really want to emphasize that. So anyway, it's high time we prioritize the well-being of patients using ethical evidence-based medicine over political-based directives. Really? Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? So look at some of these comments. Vax industry fail. Alrighty, so vax industry, we want to put that as a recommendation. Vax industry. Pfizer might get thrown under the bus and Moderna will prevail. That's an interesting prediction. I would have thought they'd both go down together, to be honest. It doesn't matter if the best medical advice available at the time wasn't correct, Batty. That's how they passed the buck. Yeah. Now we need to put the guilty in cells, saying the best medical advice available at the time is about covering their asses. Yeah, well, I mean, at the same time, I believe during the Nuremberg campaign, we were just following orders, didn't wash. Perhaps I believe that this scenario should be the same. I will never go back into healthcare. So you're a healthcare worker of some description then, Sharon. I mean, the sad thing is you're probably really good at your job and the kind of people we need in healthcare. And, maybe there's something you can do to help change healthcare and fight a good fight in another way. Just a thought. Actually, Sharon, have you been interviewed on Cafe Locked Out yet about your situation? If not, I'd happily have you on the show if you want to have a yarn about that. Nursing 20 years. All right. Well, did you want to have a yarn on this show? Like, I could probably get you on at some stage. We can have a discussion about that. contact me via nqfreedomnetwork@protonmail.com if that's something that interests you, or if there's anybody else viewing this who would like to get their story out too. By all means, drop us a line. Let's keep moving. Oh, I better take that banner off. Approximately 3,000 healthcare workers are currently absent from the public healthcare system due to the vaccine direction. Nurses have continued to be terminated after the revocation of the mandate in September 2023. Some are as recent as 2 weeks ago. Wow. On March 1st, the NPAQ, whatever the hell that is sending Health Minister Sharon Fentiman in a list of hundreds of these healthcare workers prepared to return to work immediately. That the alphabet soup claims one of the biggest barriers to re-employment is that those who were terminated have a misconduct black mark on their resumes. See, and this is ridiculous. This is what they've done, and sue them. Time to have a go. Get on the Clive, see if you'll fund you. The association is seeking legal advice following the court's shock ruling. Wow, we know which lawyers you want to go and see. The ones that worked. Ms. Fetterman said the government was still considering the decision handed down by the Supreme Court, but affirmed the judgment handed down by Justice Martin was a very technical decision around employment contracts and the way the heads of Queensland Police and Queensland Ambulance made directions to employees. Justice Martin did not find the mandatory COVID vaccinations were contrary to the Human Rights Act. He found that the limit on human rights was justified because of the pandemic. What? Word salad. It was an attack. It was a violation of human rights. Get over it. It was a decision about how directions were issued, not the fact that mandatory COVID vaccinations were contrary to human rights. That, again, is word soup bullshit. I disagree with your ridiculous statement. COVID vaccines were definitely in contrary to human rights. So, anyway, moving right along. But Queensland Director General says there is no directive preventing re-employment. Now, you'll notice that this previous article that we just looked at was on the 28th of February, and this one here is the 1st of March. So this is a little bit of a follow-up. So Queensland Health Director General has written to all hospitals and health services in the state to confirm there is no directive to stop the re-employment of employees who refused the COVID-19 vaccine. In the letter, Michael Walsh reiterates that there is no directive in place that prevents Queensland Health re-employing an otherwise suitably qualified candidate who was subjected to disciplinary vaccination mandate measures. The move comes after the Courier Mail was leaked an email sent to a nurse with 15 years experience telling her her application for a job would not be processed, and staff had received instructions that they were unable to employ any staff who were officially terminated. Health Minister Sharon Fentiman has this week denied 3 times that there was anything stopping former health workers from rejoining the department. Appears she was full of shit. However, correspondence sent to a nurse trying to get her job back last month states that we cannot progress your application. We have had instructions that we are unable to employ any staff who were officially terminated. We have been directed by our HR department that this is a Queensland Health Directive. Wow. The lies. These people are just absolute full of shit. Here's another one that should probably be put into prison with the general public. Or general population, sorry. The nurse, who has 15 years experience, is desperate to return to work and is devastated by the response from the health department. She asked to remain anonymous for fear of repercussions. Wow. The data provided by Health Department shows 1,249 staff were terminated as a result of non-compliance with the vaccination mandate. That's a lot of people. Earlier, Mr. Walsh said the emails were incorrect and offered his apologies to the nurse. Why? Because you got caught, you bloody crook. I'd like to apologize to the person who received this email. It's an error. Bullshit. Bullshit it was. I took that cow pat, I threw it up in the air, and it did not come down. It's inconsistent with Queensland Health. I'm not even going to listen to this morons babble anymore. I think we've got the point there. So Queensland Health has failed as well. Queensland Health. For another epic fail. Moving along, the conversation. I just wanted to point this out because right at the end of the COVID crap. Let's have a look at this old article of, back in 2021. No, it's not the law. The danger of using pseudological arguments against COVID-19 rules. Well, this is what we've got for you. We beat you and we proved that you are full of shit. Don't want to take a COVID test, wear a mask, or get vaccinated? It's pretty easy to find advice telling you you're legally entitled to say no. Unfortunately, this advice is very bad. But turns out it was true. Just wanted to point that out and raise a middle finger to this ridiculous load of crap. And when it comes to ridiculous loads of crap, it's important to understand where it comes from. So I had a look at all their partners: CSIRO, Monash University, University of Melbourne, University of Technology Sydney. Look at all these universities. They're strategic partners. Boundless Earth, another one for renewable energy. Another person you probably couldn't trust if your life depended on it. Broadly Trust. It's got the word trust in it, therefore I can't trust it. Look at all these people. But of course, we come down to their media partners, technology partners. But the list of universities, all these woke universities, any wonder this friggin' article is a pile of shit. Comes from an institutionalized mindset. Yeah, we did that one. I must have put it in twice somehow. So, you remember how Putin was a bad guy for, knocking on, apparently, oh no, not to that one. Wrong one. I was getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Good old Musk. He reckons apparently now there is punishment for misgendering. It's back on X. Elon's response doesn't go well. So punishment for misgendering has returned to X, the social media site formerly known as Twitter, the artist formerly known as Twitter, as I like to say. The provision recently appeared in... Yep, okay, cool. Appeared in the terms of service, an excerpt of which was posted by that name. The practice was widespread before Elon Musk purchased the site, with PJ Media once having its account locked for misgendering a government official. In all seriousness, Elon, can you please clarify this? Why the change? So this is the name of that person, Chaya, I think, anyway. We will reduce the visibility of posts that purposely use different pronouns to address someone other than what the person uses for themselves, or that uses a previous name that someone no longer goes by or part of their transition. Given the complexity of determining whether such a violation has occurred, we must always hear from the target to determine if a violation has occurred. So basically, if they cry enough, they can, have your visibility of your posts reduced. So it's shadow banning. They're going to pretend they're on about free speech while shadow banning. X, I'm sorry, you guys are falling down. And you know what? I actually got this sent to me from Truth Social. They actually were an emergency email sent out to point this out. So I'm guessing more and more people may be going to Truth Social. I haven't looked at it in a little while myself. Have you guys been onto it? Let's have a look at some comments. It's contrary to human rights. Wholeheartedly agree. No directive, just hospital policy. It's an interest. Yeah, it's true. They made it hospital policy, which is bullshit, but it's still against human rights, isn't it? My jab status was nothing to do with my ability to do my job. That's right. I second that bullshit. Damn straight. Laws that protect farmer against litigation should be softened in favor of citizens or abolished. No other business, even very large ones, are immune from product safety claims. Also, Big Pharma, I agree. Bill Gates is number one piece of everyone should be going after. He's got his fingers in all the pies. He's just one of many, I think. Elon identified now as a wuss. I like that one. I'm on Truth. It's still pretty good. All right, cool. I might have to go back and have another look. Go look up the North Queensland Freedom Network and give us a shout out, eh? Anybody who's got their Truth Social, go to North Queensland Freedom Network, give me a shout out. I promise I will have a look at it all in due time. Okay. Accounts that purposely, so we've gone through that purposely. Yeah, we basically read that anyway. Musk did respond to Rashik's post, claiming that the rule will only be enforced against those who purposely and repeatedly target others with the wrong pronouns. People in the replies weren't happy with his dismissiveness and lack of real explanation. Using the correct sex-based pronouns for someone is harassment. We're being forced to lie. What about harassment in general? There are accounts who repeatedly target and harass specific individuals in an obsessive way. What constitutes repeated and targeted? And why do only... let's have a look. Why do only one group of people get this special treatment? That is the million-dollar question. So... of note is the actual language in the terms of service does not state that the rule is only enforced for repeated and targeted harassment. So that's an important thing to look at. Further, Musk once mocked the idea of forced pronoun usage in the context of transgenderism. Yes, he did. And I was happy with that because it said, Elon, I'm so confused. And we've got people pointing out pronouns suck. My pronouns are prosecute Fauci. I think we can all agree with that one. People can't even remember the names of everyone they meet last week, let alone their pronouns. The reality of pronoun in bio is simply signaling that you're in the woke cult. Pronouns in bio mean the woke mind virus ate your brain. So does that mean Elon's posts are now going to be sort of shadow banned himself? Will he shadow ban himself? Unfortunately, a haphazard approach to account management has been a consistent trend under Musk's leadership. Despite an overall better environment on the site for free speech, there have still been instances where the billionaire appears to be making up the rules as he goes, pushing censorship only to change course in the face of public pressure. So, concerns about advertisers are likely driving this latest move. There you go. Money talks, and the truth walks. Oh, yep, that was the one we just had. Moving along. So, does X get a fail? Elon? Is it Elon or X? What do you reckon? Elon or X for the fail? ASIO has revealed an Australian politician betrayed the nation. Here's what we know. So here's the other big news of the week. It's interesting that this big news came out pretty much at the same time as the COVID bloody mandate ruling. Don't you think? I thought it was fascinating. Two big ones in 1 week. It couldn't possibly be a coincidence, could it? Could it? Very nicely said, Marla. So, ASIO has revealed an Australian politician betrayed the nation. Here's what we know. When Mike Burgess speaks, people listen. Do they? I'd never heard of the dude before this article, but anyway, it's not the Australian Security Intelligence Organisations, otherwise known as ASIO. Boss is a recluse compared to his predecessors. He's much more media friendly and savvy, and it's a revelation from his annual threat assessment speech on Wednesday night that a former politician was cultivated by foreign spies that's set tongues wagging in Canberra. The questions on everyone's lips who is this person and what consequences will they face for their actions? That is the $1 million question. I want to know who the hell this person is. They've sold us out, you know, and we want to know that justice will be served upon this person. So Mr. Burgess was very careful and guarded in his language when describing the politician. He didn't give much away. All we know is that they're a retired politician, so we know it's not someone that's currently serving. So Albo's out. I'm sure. I mean, that's the first thing that popped to my mind. Is it Albo? He's that much of an idiot. Is it Penny Wong? That was the next one that was on my list. You know, being as she's in the perfect spot to be doing those kinds of things. You know, who was recruited several years ago by a group of foreign spies from an unnamed country. So we're going to have another game today. The game today will be, what's the party? What's the party? What's the country? And which politician is for the big win? Of course, we will have to wait and see, you know, but let's have a little bit of a pre-warm up to the voting scenario. Here's your opportunity to jump in. If you're just watching and you're not in the chats, here's your opportunity to jump in the chats. What do we win? What do we win? Well, we don't know. You get to win knowing that you were right when we figure it all out. How's that? All right. So what's the party? I want to know what the general idea, who thinks it's what? So Marla reckons Labor. Wong. So it can't be Penny Wong because it's a former politician. And as I understand, she's still serving. So do you want to have another crack, Marla? It will be a Liberal if Labor is attacking, but it's not Labor attacking. That's the thing. So, you know, well, hang on. Before we go any further, maybe I've jumped the gun because Michael, you've just pointed out something that I wanted to address too. So if we look into, you know, the PM backs the spy chief's refusal straight away, you know, to name the turncoat ex-MP, you know, but Mr. Dutton calls to name the traitor, but he then shut his mouth the next day. ASIO warns naming the traitor's politician could expose sources as Peter Dutton cools on push. So that's the chain of events I want people to sort of keep in mind as well, that bloody once the information was released that the PM backed it. So to me, the first thing I thought, the alarm bell was Labor. That was my train of thought. What do you guys think? You know, because the Liberals were saying, we want to know, you know, and for good reason, because, you know, as he says, you know, the MP's saying it leaves a cloud over everyone's head, you know, so they need to know. They need to know. And another factor I want to bring into it, and you may recall from earlier in the chat that I brought this picture into the scenario. Let's see if we can find it again. We're in my big... Where is it? Oh, I'm in the video section. That's why I can't find it. Here. So that's another thing to look at is straight away Malcolm Turnbull has tried to get himself declared innocent. So, you know, and there's an article about it. There might be more to look into this, but, you know, prison for agent of Chinese is right next to reveal the name of the traitor politician. Are they planting a seed in your head? Are they making you think in a certain way? I don't think if the media knew, they would have told us, that's for sure. But it's interesting that they've put, you know, prison of agent of China article in here. I'm going to have to blow this up because I can't quite read it on that scenario. So if I go back to here and I find the article, blow it up a bit. You know, maybe I can do that for all you guys too. That might be something worth doing. Share screen. Share that. Let's bring that down. Let's zoom right in so you guys can see it too. All right. So reveal the name of the traitor politician, calls for ASIO to come clean. Australia's security agency is under fire for refusing to reveal the name of a former politician compromised by foreign spies, prompting furious calls for the traitor to be outed and face the legal consequences. Greens Senator David Schubert said if ASIO had rock solid evidence and an ex-politician sold out their country, they need to tell the public and law enforcement who that was. Espionage has been a crime in Australia for over a century, and we can't have one rule for politicians who break the law and another for everyone else. No shit. So right now we have the suspect running around freely and every other former politician under a cloud of suspicion, which is very important. But here, because I've seen Malcolm's name being turned, Malcolm and Lucy Turnbull in 2016 with son Alex below. Alex Turnbull said he was approached by spies but went to the authorities. None of the Turnbulls are accused of anything and have done nothing wrong. So it's interesting they're trying to protect them. I don't know who this guy is. No idea. So there's the whole thing. If we keep going through, so opposition Peter Dutton speculated on Thursday the person at the centre of the espionage allegations was an ex-Labor politician from New South Wales, but said it was up to ASIO to publicly confirm the identity. Interesting. He criticised ASIO Director General of Security Mike Burgess for failing to name the ex-politician who is accused of selling out his country some time prior to the introduction of foreign interference laws in 2018. So it's interesting they had to put foreign interference laws in 2018, and this happened before that. I think it is unfair on a lot of former MPs who are patriotic, as 99.9% on both sides are, Mr. Dutton told 2GB. That's very kind of him to say, especially up against the Labor Party, who I could say are about as unpatriotic as humanly possible. If there's one that ASIO have identified who's not patriotic, then frankly, that person should be outed and shamed. Mr. Burgess said there was nothing ASIO or the Australian Federal Police could do now, as the compromised politician who allegedly tried to draw a relative of a prime minister into the spy's orbit was not currently spying or breaking the law. So this is interesting, where they say, they tried to draw a prime minister. So that's a kind of a bit of a dot connector, don't you think? None of the Turnbulls are accused of anything, but it also states that the son was approached. So was it this particular prime minister that was approached, which again suggests Labor Party? Personally, I don't think they will be stupid enough to repeat what they have done in the past, so the problem is neutralized. In a statement on Thursday, Mr. Burgess said he understood the interest in the case, but it was a historic matter that was appropriately dealt with at the time. So again, they've known about this for a long time, and it was dealt with at the time, but they bring it out at this particular moment when there was such a big hoo-ha about the COVID mandates. To me, this whole thing, I think, is a big smokescreen and a distraction to keep people away from the fact that the COVID mandates were unlawful. Everyone serving in Parliament now or who has served has the right to know who this person is. Coalition Home Affairs spokesman James Patterson said he understood why Mr. Burgess had not named the ex-politician, particularly given the defamation risk, but described the lack of legal consequences as a regret. I think it would be very powerful and important if someone has betrayed their country, particularly someone who has the honor of representing their country in the parliament. We get the idea. But what's going on here with this prison for the agent of Chinese? A Melbourne businessman who became the first person convicted under foreign interference laws for trying to influence former federal minister Alan Tudge in favor of the Chinese Communist Party has been jailed. Daisan Sunny Dong. Wow. Daisan Dong, 68, was yesterday sentenced to 2 years and 2 years and 9 months. That all after he was found guilty of preparing to act an act of foreign interference over a $37,450 donation to the Royal Melbourne Hospital during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's, my God, what a slap in the face to the Australian people. 2 years. They couldn't even make it to round 3. Fucking man. Any wonder nobody's got any faith left in this bloody system, I tell you. I know I certainly don't. Freaking criminals. I can't bear to read that any further. Fucking scumbags. Anyway, so back to what we were doing. So who do we think it is now that we've got a little bit more information about what's going on? All right, let's have a look at the list. So it will be a Liberal if Labor is attacking. So now we know it's Labor going, let's go along with it, and Liberal who are the one who are somewhat attacking. Paul Keating or Alexander Downer, eh? He reckons it was Malcolm Turnbull. That's right. That's what triggered that thing. Labor, Andrews, China. Labor, Andrews, China. I'm inclined to agree. That would be my guess. Kevin Rudd. Well, it's possible. I thought they released info. It was a former Labor MP. It does seem to employ that. I'm not sure. Well, let's have a quick look. I mean, I look at this article here, guessing game over turncoat Polly. I mean, I always called this guy Turncoat. Just, good old Malcolm Turncoat. That's the way I always referred to him, because that's what he did to his own people. He stabbed his colleague in the back, didn't he? But hang on, he was Labor. That's where he went to Liberal, and he became Labor. So there you go. Oh no, he was Labor and became Liberal. Unnamed trader. So if it was Turncoat, it could be both parties in a sense. Yeah. Anyway, unnamed trader politician. Politicians question. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything as a quick look that's confirmed that. Tash, if you have an article that you can link in for us, that'd be awesome. That'd be good to see. Where's ASIO bringing this out now? Like I said, I reckon it's the distractors from the COVID mandates being unlawful. Bob Hawke, eh? They resurrected him at some point for it. It's the article. If I'll bring it back up. This article here says it happened in, before 2018. And I think Bob Hawke being dead, I reckon they would have just said it if it was him. That's just my school of thinking. Red herring. Who do you describe as the red herring? Can an ex-prime minister, or are you saying it's a red herring? You're saying it's all just a distraction. Can an ex-prime minister be prosecuted? I don't know. Can an isn't that what they're trying to determine with Trump, I guess? It's a good question. I don't know. I'd assume they could be. They're still, if they committed a criminal act, always look at the news that they're not talking about. Exactly. They don't really want to talk about the COVID mandates. So if it's old news, then it's a distraction. If it happened in the last 5 years, I understand why it's news, but it seems that this isn't the case. So yeah, but they've certainly cast a big lot over all politicians in the meantime, saying that there's a traitor amongst the midst. And it's been my experience that no, it's all right, mate. All good. Maybe they executed him. I wish. Blair Show doing a great breakdown of this issue on Rumble. Oh, cool. I'll have a look at it. Cheers, mate. So anyway, back to where we were, because Struth, we're getting up to that 2-hour moment again. Share the screen. Where are we at? We could probably call it a day there, really. No, we don't want that one. Want that one. So this is where we were. Peter Dutton puts money on an ex-Labor MP. So ASIO got him to back down. But then this emerges as well, which is why I'm inclined to think that Labor, Andrews, and China. Court orders Dan Andrews to hand over documents related to Belgueri teen cyclist crash. So they're going back to 2013. It's prior to 2018, isn't it? Court has ordered him to share his phone and credit card records. Daniel Andrews has been ordered to hand over his personal telephone and credit card record relating to the Blairgowrie car crash involving a teenage cyclist. The former premier was personally served with Supreme Court subpoena outside his Mulgrave home last week. The subpoena requires Mr. Andrews to produce a series of documents related to the day Ryan Mullman, then 15, was struck by Andrews' family car in the January 2013. So it's over 10 years ago. It can be revealed Mr. So that guy's 25 years old and probably spent the last 10 years in agony because of the world's slimiest piece of scum sucking dog turd. Next to, say, Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci, it can be revealed Mr. Andrews has engaged Arnold Bloch Leber to represent him in the case, the same law firm his former government used to broker a massive taxpayer-funded compensation deal over the shock cancellation of the Commonwealth Games. God, he's a scumbag. Just want to, every time I see that face, you just want to, rub it in a dog turd or something, don't you? ABL is also acting on the former Premier's wife, Catherine Andrews, who was driving at the time of the crash. ABL was approached for comment about the subpoena, but did not respond. The phone records will be relied upon as a part of damages actions launched by Ryan's lawyers to ascertain who Mr. Andrews called in the aftermath of a near-fatal crash, including whether he spoke to his then Chief of Staff, current Victoria Police Assistant Commissioner Brett Curran. And for anybody who's gone over to Darren Dixon's wonderful page, Constitution Watch, you will find within there, I think you type in Labor, you should be able to find the article there that shows how the entire Labor government was under investigation by the police, and it suddenly stopped being investigated after a few arrests were made. It was very fascinating. So the corruption of the Andrews government and the Victorian Police Department, in my mind, is very, very high. And I dare say that this should be a very interesting case to follow. But it's interesting that this also happened this week. So are they preparing him for the fall? Are they getting him ready? Are they? And while we were checking the records, we found this, and it looks like Andrews was the spy all along, and they go about it a different way without revealing how they come to the conclusion. But Struth, the Belt and Road Initiative and how much he sucks up China's bumhole should be enough. And here's the poor kid that that scum-sucking pig run over. Poor kid. Hope he comes good. And justice is served against this criminal. So, yeah, just another little piece of the puzzle I thought people might find interesting. Punch it, you reckon? Feels that way. I think I get more satisfaction out of rubbing his nose in a dog turd, though. Dan Dastardly strikes again. Yeah, I'm hoping that he's hounded for the rest of his waking days. So, and on this one, Rebecca Judd, I never heard of her before. You know, apparently she's some influencer or some shit. You know, but she's rich and you know, with a football player, so her voice carries more weight than everybody else's, and she's getting sick with the youth crime wave as well. So it's on for young and old. You can always read that article. I just wanted to draw attention that, you know, the crime is that bad now. That, you know, even these richies, you know, are starting to complain, you know, but this is the bit that you kind of go, I don't know how sorry I feel for these particular people. It's the people who can't afford the private security. I'm aware now that a number of people who are hiring private security, they must be really well off, because it does focus about Brighton, this article, and, you know, all the poor richies and how the poor richies are getting broken into. And because it's affecting them, perhaps something will happen now. Who knows? But anyway, you know, really, it should be done for everybody, not just those who, you know, at what point do we demand that private security is, you know, put into everyone's streets to protect us, because clearly the courts can't keep these people in jail, you know? And actually there was a point in there that, as I read through the article, you know, he lives in a $7.3 million mansion, you know, like, I feel sorry for it, you know, not. The justice system is saying So we got gangs wielding of machete youths are going and invading homes. It's not the first time she's spoken out. So sick of the rapes, bashings, and home invasions. So we should be. State government doesn't seem to care. I personally know 2 women who have experienced home invasions in Brighton while they were home. Also commented have these teens been charged yet, or just another slap on the wrist, you know, which is what we're seeing all over the country. Must have been earlier. Yeah, after the Herald Sun revealed that 80 repeat youth offenders had been arrested and released more than 10 times each over the past year. So any wonder, you know, we've got this crime because it's just a slap on the wrist. Catch and release program. Anyway, more fun in Victoria. Victorian solar energy company collapses with a $3.8 million debt. Wow. Anyone shocked there? Anyone? Anybody? Oh, no, I'm not. Make it a cat turd to rub his face. Yeah, they do stink a lot worse, don't they? G'day, Susan. How you going? Morning catch up. Just woke up at 3 a.m. My God, you are such a dedicated viewer to be up at 3 a.m. I don't want to get up at 3 a.m. for the kids. I'll have to start stealing from the rich, because the rest of us will own nothing and perhaps be happy. The rich is all that'll have anything left, isn't it? You know, they're the only ones they're going to look after. So anyway, so all staff have lost their jobs while suppliers are millions out of pocket after a massive company collapsed in Victoria. All staff have lost their jobs while suppliers, and yeah, we got that bit. So the news.com can reveal that Victorian electricity and energy business G-Store Pty Ltd went into administration in February, and the company ceased to trade immediately. G-Store headquarters in Melbourne's Malvern East, and also with premises in regional Victoria in Warragul, specialized in installing custom solar energy and sustainable options into homes. It had been in business since 2007, but the company had racked up large debts amid the economic downturn, and also because its sole director, Dion Epstein, there's that name again, eh? Good old Epstein pops up quite a lot, has been battling a cancer diagnosis, which caused the company to slide. Nobody else was able to do their job. Philip Newman of restructuring and PCR Partners was appointed the administrator. Yeah, so anyway, where's the interesting stuff? Owns 139 unsecured creditors, $2.2 million. Unsecured creditor. You don't want to be them. While secured lenders are owed the remainder of the 3.8 million. So 1.6 million to secured creditors. Of that, some customers are also owed money after paying for solar energy to be installed into their homes, but with the installation never eventuating. The company did not complete a number of works for which it had received deposits from customers. Unfortunately, these customers will now rank as unsecured creditors for the deposits paid to the company. Staff are also owed a hefty amount, $437,000 from unpaid annual leave, long service leave, superannuation, and redundancy payouts. The company hadn't paid superannuation since the 1st of January, racking up $24,000 in super debts to employees. Wow. Of the total amount owed to staff, $123,000 is owed to the director, Mr. Epstein, and his wife. Why? Complicating matters further is that Mr. Epstein personally guaranteed a number of loans. So he is personally in debt to the tune of $1.18 million. Yeah, I don't think his $123,000 is going to fucking cover it. G-Store started making losses in 2021. In the last full financial year, it made a loss of $500,000 and above. Wow, isn't that fascinating? So, the first of many solar to fail, I'm guessing, because without government subsidies and things, it's just not viable. All right, a home on wheels, the clash over caravan living in New South Wales. So, I don't know, do we call that solar fail? That company definitely failed. Solar energy fails. I think we know who the fail's going to be. Let's just keep moving. A home on wheels, the clash over caravan living in New South Wales. So basically, the New South Wales government is trying to make it unlawful for you to live in a caravan, in a sense. So the heart of the matter, at the core of this controversy lies a proposed crackdown on the use of caravans as permanent residence on private property. The Labor government, what a fucking shock. Sorry, I swore again. I can't help it. I think it's the word Labor. It just goes with swearing, you know. In its bid to regulate housing norms, has sparked a fierce debate, highlighted the dire state of affordable housing in New South Wales. Bolt's critique brings to light a fundamental question in the face of skyrocketing house prices and exhaustive queues for housing. Is restricting caravan living truly in the public's best interest? As house prices soar, the young and the economically disadvantaged find themselves in a precarious position. Traditional home ownership, once a staple of the Australian dream, is increasingly out of reach for many. The government's proposed measures, according to critics like Bolt, seem to neglect the underlying issues at play, focusing instead on a superficial solution that may exacerbate the plight of those allegedly already struggling. So there you go. You can read that article if you want to keep going. We are running massively out over time. I just wanted to look at this one. Oprah leaves Weight Watchers, sinks stock prices after admitting truth about weight loss drugs. So basically, she's been on a weight loss drug the whole time. I now use it as I feel I need it, as a tool to manage, not yo-yoing, she told. So basically, she's been pretending that Weight Watchers has been keeping her fat ass down, but in actual fact that she's been pushing weight loss drugs. So does that mean she's going to start selling the weight loss drugs now? Is that where we're going with this? You know, it's the fact that there's a medically approved prescription for managing weight and staying healthier in my lifetime feels like relief, like redemption, like a gift. Stop eating cheeseburgers. Anyway, just thought I'd point that one out, that, you know, good old Oprah is under fire again for being a lying con artist. I bet you didn't see that coming. 50 years of fraud, big oil plastics industry lied about recycling, documents revealed. What a shock. I bet you didn't see that coming either. You know, plastic makers and petrochemical industry players have engaged in a decade-long fraud aimed at deceiving the public about plastic recycling, according to the new report. The spotlight's freshly uncovered industry communication. So recycling is a fail as well. So, you know, the whole recycling is a load of shit. What a shock. So you can read that one. We'll keep moving. What was the last one I've got here? Oh yeah, this was the one I was talking about. Remember when they were saying this Navalny whatever died in a Russian gulag, and it was all old mate's fault? Well, according to the Ukraine's Global Voice, Kiev Post, her chief Bandov says seems Navalny died of a detached blood clot. So what did he die of the jab? Of course, you can read that one. I just wanted to point that out because, they were jumping up and down that, about the rights of this guy and, what a hero he was for, bringing things to light while trying to prosecute good old Assange. The typical display of bullshit that we've come to see from our Western leaders, and it turns out he actually died of a blood clot and, he wasn't murdered after all. So, in conclusion, that brings us to the end of Fail of the Week. It is 2 hours and 10 minutes in. Let the voting begin. So I guess we did have what did we think? Who do we think the traitor is? That's a first one for fun and games. Do we think it was Labor? Do we think it was Andrews? Do we think it was China? Do we think it was someone else? I reckon it was Labor, Andrews, and China anyway. But we should get on to the real voting. I'll put that on the wrong thing. So solar energy and recycling is in there. But I'm pretty sure I know where you guys are going to go. I know my audience and I love you all. So while you guys, so we've got our hail of the week to good old Babette for getting that motion through where they're going to actually start looking at the excess deaths. So we've got Woolworths for a fail because it's the most pathetic attempt at trying to lower prices I've ever seen. The COVID mandates, of course, already have 2 votes. We've got the vax industry as requested by the public. Queensland Health is also up for a fail. And of course, solar and recycling. So let's let the voting begin. So Jake Sawyer reckons, yep, Labor, Andrews, China. Yep, I'm not alone in that thought. Foreign interference. Yeah, that's a good point. It isn't being a part of the WHO foreign interference. It will get in the way of herding people into their 15-minute gulags. All right. So Sharon says mandates. That's 3. You can't say all of the above. Come on, choose one. Like flip a coin, get a decision maker like this lovely one I have here. This is yeah. The old decision maker. It's a highly recommended commodity, and of course, there's always the flip a coin. It's a wonderful solution to a few things. But yeah, anything but all of the above, please. Labor. I didn't put Labor in, did I? Vapu, I love the fact that you hated Labor, but it's not on the list today. It's not on the list today. Or actually, Labor's who we think, or is that what you're saying? Yeah, to the other question. I've confused everyone, haven't I? So you reckon it's definitely Labor who is the traitor, I'm going to guess. So the jab industry, so the vaccine industry gets a vote. Queensland Health from Laura. Where Juzbel thinks it was definitely a Labor politician. Mandates gets another vote. Susan gives the mandates another vote. Labor and Liberal. Wow. So what do you reckon? It was Turncoat because he was in both. Another one for the jab industry. Queensland Health says Vapu. And the COVID mandates gets another vote from Jake. Recycling. Bill Gates also has large investments in waste management. Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you for that piece of information. I wouldn't be surprised. If you want to send me something to talk about that maybe next week or something, NQ Freedom Network at protonmail.com. I'd like to see some info on that. Where were we? Sorry, I was out, missed the show, have to watch the replay. Okay, that's all good. I'll forgive you, Vapu. You're usually here on time, so we can't always be here, I guess. There is a life outside of my podcast. So any more votes coming in, people? Oh, good day, Jan. Haven't seen you in a while too, but I guess I can forgive you. It's all right. You got here in the end. That's the important thing. Mandates, and another one for mandates. Says Robin. Any more votes, people? Any more votes? Mandates. I think it's pretty safe to say this is a mandate win here, because all the others have 2 or 1 vote. Money laundering to China, I would not be surprised. The fact that years ago when I did a little bit of camera work for the far left, I discovered that far left Labor and China's Communist Party were in beds together anyway, so it's pretty obvious. Labor is bringing in a tax on recycling. Really? Can you send me the article? I want to see that. Tax on recycling. That wouldn't surprise me at all. The mongrels force you to recycle and then tax you for it. That's exactly the kind of stupidity I'd expect from a Labor government. Well, there you go. That didn't take much to find it. Breaking news. We've got a late minute addition to fail of the week, thanks to Leander. Leander, is that how I say that? Another vote for mandates, though. So while we got any more votes coming in, let's have a quick look at this last minute contribution to fail of the week 18. Recycling expert. There's a video. Watch again.
Exporters are warning new regulations could. Recycling exporters are warning new regulations could force them to pass on millions of dollars in costs to consumers. The proposed legislation will charge companies more for the approximately 1.2 million tonnes of excess paper and cardboard Australian recyclers export every year. The National Waste and Recycling Industry Council are calling on the Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek to scrap the proposed changes.
Why am I not surprised? The koala killer is involved. The Albanese government has denied it will slug Australians with a world-first recycling tax, declaring a new levy set to come into effect this year will help the country manage its waste on home soil. Why? They really are the taxation party. Tax on recycle back to sensors. Yes, the sensors on our bin that we covered last week. It certainly seems to be. Here I was thinking it was just going to be fining you for putting the wrong thing in your bin. No, they're going to tax you for it. Wants a tax on clothes. That wouldn't surprise me. Like, they are the taxation party. They're pretending not to be by giving us a piss poor amount of tax reform. And what can I say? The Labor government. Bloody Labor government. Well, I think it's pretty safe to say that our hands down winner with a total of 9 votes is COVID mandates for their epic fail. So congratulations to Palachuk, who made that all possible here in Queensland. There's mud in your eye as a result of your evil, fiendish schemes. Here's a... There was more I wanted to show you guys, a couple more videos here. But here's a quick one while I write this up on the board.
In a speech earlier this year, I made the point that one can judge a man by the company he keeps. I observed that one of Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's first orders of business was a private meeting with globalist billionaire and manipulator extraordinaire Bill Gates. And I spoke to a more recent meeting the Prime Minister had with Larry Fink, chairman of BlackRock, the merchant bank that now owns Australia and tries to control Australia. In the break, the Prime Minister once again used taxpayers' money and a taxpayer's plane to hobnob at concerts, exhibition openings, and attend a billionaire's birthday soiree. In so doing, the Prime Minister has demonstrated he will show fealty to anyone he needs in order to keep swanning around as though the weight of responsibility of running this beautiful country of ours was somehow not on his shoulders. It's not the job of the Prime Minister to party at a time when everyday Australians are struggling to pay their rent, pay their mortgages, find a roof to put over their heads, and pay their electricity bills. Especially because of his government's policies. Can someone on the government benches remind Prime Minister Anthony Albanese the word party in Labor Party doesn't mean what he seems to think it means? All the while, Chris Bowen MP, Minister for Climate Change and Energy, and now known as the Ministry of Misery, has been out there destroying our productive capacity, making people's lives harder. His latest policy is a tax on commercial vehicles, including utes, that tradies need to be a tradie. How can a so-called party of working Australians introduce a ute tax that will make it harder for tradies to own what is an essential tool of their trade? Have you considered what that tax will do to housing construction? It will cut house production and raise house cost. If ever the analogy of fiddling while Rome burns is appropriate to a modern leader, it's now. It's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. What a bloody disgrace.
Make elbow go away. All I've really got to say here. And we might just finish off. COVID mandates has made the board. Congratulations to all the great people who stood against it and made that victory possible. It really is wonderful to see that things are finally starting to turn around on that. It's taken too long. But here's something else we do need to keep an eye on, and good old Senator Malcolm Roberts is at the helm again.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for appearing again today. I have a question about the emergency backstop mechanism from Queensland Government, Department of Energy and Climate. It's implemented in Queensland. It allows the government to turn off people's solar panels at will. A lot of people in Queensland were shocked when the government reached into their homes and controlled their air conditioning units 170,000 times in the last 2 months. Now we're finding out the government can turn off their solar panels as well, people's solar panels. I don't understand why the panels on someone's house would have to be remotely cut off, even for self-consumption. As the regulator, do you have any data on how many of these generation signalling devices have been installed in Queensland under this emergency backstop mechanism, and how many are installed nationally?
So is your question about smart inverters then, Senator?
It's about smart meters that are cutting off air conditioning units and cutting off solar panels.
So it would be a smart inverter. Controlled. So there is a backstop mechanism that's been put in place through their Energy and Climate Change Ministerial Council, which I don't know if the department wishes to comment on, but essentially it's to avoid situations of what they call minimum demand, Senator, so where you might have minimum demand problems. So it's where in system operation you might have so much solar in the system.
Middle of the day.
Middle of the day, that's right. SA is where it's been most acute. South Australia is where it's been most acute, where you might have so much that you actually can't keep a stable minimum generation load in place, and so solar is turned off during those emergency situations to ensure that you can keep that minimum stable generation load. I'm not aware of the figures that you've just quoted there, Senator, around the number of times it's been done in Queensland. So I'll just look at my colleague, Ms Joly, or to Mr Duggan to see if they...
Yeah, I was going to ask Senator if you'd give us a sense of where those figures came from, because I hadn't heard them before.
I can get back to you on that. It was widely reported in the press last week.
It's not consistent with my understanding, Senator, so I think we'd need to see the figures.
Okay. Well, we'll get them to you. Under the National Electricity Rules, what remedy or compensation is available to a homeowner if their solar panels are turned off remotely and they suffer some kind of damage because of that?
So again, that's not an area of the AER's responsibility. I'm not sure whether there are compensation payments in place. I don't think there are there?
Yeah, I think, Senator, that would be a question that I suspect, and here I think having access to the information that you've got I think would help us out enormously. But to me, I think the direction of the question is more one that gets to AEMO's management of the grid, and so they, I suspect, would be operating that part of the system. And so if we can get the information from you, we'll endeavour to work with AEMO.
Doesn't the Australian Energy Regulator oversee the whole lot?
We oversee it, but not in necessarily the way in which the system is operated, and that's a system operation question. We make sure people comply with the rules. One of the things I would say to you that the Australian Energy Regulator is doing, though, Senator, is working with the network companies to do what's called flexible export limits, and so this is to ensure that you have a greater opportunity to optimise the solar system across the whole grid, so that we're not seeing, I guess, solar panels being turned off unnecessarily. Did you want to add anything?
No, I think that's basically right. I mean, at the moment, solar panels, you mentioned, are turned off to preserve the stability of the grid. It's a fairly rigid arrangement. Perhaps a more flexible arrangements will allow people to export more frequently at times that are convenient to them, and that's something we're exploring with the various network businesses.
And one thing we do have,
You use the word acute to ensure stable minimum generation load. These things, solar and wind, have introduced a hell of a lot of management issues which add cost and risk to the system.
Well, I think they add costs and risk at times through the day, but they're also at times free. So I think from that perspective, we see a lot of negative prices in South Australia and Queensland in particular through the middle of the day, which lowers overall average prices of the system. But there are, at other times in the day, costs, obviously, to manage the system. Ms Jolly's just reminded me, we do have a report on Export Services Network Performance Report, which actually looks at how much how the networks are and how much solar energy is being exported into the grid. So that report might be useful to you too, Senator.
Okay, could you send us that?
Yeah.
So you may not be able to answer this question, but you're the overseer. How many air conditioners have been installed with remote demand management systems under the Peak Smart program in Queensland?
I wouldn't have access to that data, Senator.
Are you able to get it on notice?
I don't think we would have that as an agency. That sounds like a Queensland government program.
But you're overseeing the national?
Well, we oversee the bits that are within the national electricity law and rules. State-based programs are usually done up through state-based legislation.
So they can operate independently?
If the states have their own legislation, there will be elements of it that will operate through that.
So you're concerned that there seems to be increasing control over people's use of electricity and access to electricity?
In Queensland, it's been a very long time that there's been direct load control of air conditioners and pool pumps for more than 20 years. So I think from that perspective, it's not a new thing in Queensland, but it's always been a part of system operation in Queensland.
What about other states? Is it increasing?
We would have to look at the numbers. I don't have the numbers in front of me, Senator.
Could you get them on notice, please?
Would we have those numbers?
I'm not sure. They may come from the distributors who run those programs autonomously.
Do you know how many smart meters have been installed in Queensland?
I know probably how many smart meters there are in Queensland. I don't know in terms of the growth. I mean, we're at about, is it 47% in Queensland? Is that right? Yeah. We'd have to take that on notice.
47. Okay, if you could, please. 47% of households have smart meters.
We just looked at this last week, so I'm just trying to remember what the answer to that is, Senator. But I think that is we're heading into that territory in most of the jurisdictions now, up towards the high 40%.
Okay, is there anything in the national electricity rules that enshrines the right of a customer to refuse a smart meter? At the moment, many of the programs have opt-out clauses, but my question is whether there is actually anything in the electricity rules that will stop an electricity company if they decide to try to force someone to take a smart meter, make it mandatory.
I think I'll need to take that on notice as well, Senator.
Because it seems like there's increasing power over people's use of electricity. I'll just ask a few questions. You may not be able to answer these. It's about the emergency backstop mechanism media release that the government, or website. The government says that the emergency backstop mechanism is an important, there's a quote, is an important step in supporting Queensland's transition to a more coordinated electricity system. Is the electricity system becoming more coordinated, controlled?
Senator Roberts, I just wonder if, again, and we've just canvassed this a few times over the course of the day, it's very difficult for officials to answer questions about documents when we don't know the provenance of the document or the date it was published or have the document in front of us. Are you able to table that, perhaps provide us with a web link?
Sure. It's a website, last updated 12th of December 2023 from the Department of Energy and Climate and Queensland Government.
I see. So it's a Queensland government.
Yes.
I'm not sure that the Commonwealth Government can answer questions about Queensland government programs. I mean, the AER may have information for you, but there are limits on what we can discuss in this forum.
No, I understand that, Minister. I'm just looking at what the Queensland Government is saying about the more coordinated electricity system, and I thought that might come under the Australian Energy Regulator.
Oh, look, I would probably say that an electricity system must be coordinated. It's always been coordinated because you have to have instantaneous meeting of supply and demand. That's why you have a system operator, to make sure that you've got generation resources available when people demand it. So that level of coordination is fundamental to ensuring that we can keep a stable voltage waveform in the system. I mean, the physics of it demands it. So to answer your question, it has always been a coordinated system and it will need to remain a coordinated system.
It says it's becoming more coordinated.
Senator Roberts, this notion of the national energy grid and then the role of the states, I think probably what we're tripping over here is that situation, that there is a national plan and then the states each have a set of responsibilities. How they then roll out those responsibilities are sometimes done in the state and not necessarily part of the purview of...
I understand that. I'm trying to find out whether or not you have any role over that or any information over that.
And I'm happy to try and answer your questions. It's not necessarily directly in my patch, but I'll help you however I can.
No, that's about all I have. We've already answered the last one I had.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, even though they were unaware of it, I took the liberty while we were watching that to confirm good old Senator's claims that, yes, indeed, 170,000 air conditioners were 6 times in a month. That's pretty fucked up. That is pretty fucked up, especially when I see the word ergon, who is the only friggin' option we have here in the north of the realm of Queensland, can remotely turn down air conditioners. People signed, there seems to be people who are signed up to a Peak Smart program, have a small device installed on their front, on their unit for a cash rebate. I can't imagine what you would... kind of rebate you're getting, but let's have a look. In Power Grid, remotely turned down almost 170,000 air conditioners 6 times in the past 2 months as a part of a scheme to protect the electricity grid. So obviously there's something seriously wrong because we never had to do this sort of shit before. Some installers said they were wary of the Peak Smart scheme, which was introduced by the Newman government in 2012 because the guidelines regarding aircon control, so air conditioner control, were not clear. Energex and Ergon access air conditioners through Peak Smart meters, which are controlled via power lines, usually in return for access to a cash rebate of up to $400. The goal of the meter is to reduce pressure on the network at peak time. So I'm not getting a rebate of $400. So hopefully they're not going to turn my fucking aircon off. Or my solar panels. The signal tells the air conditioner to drop into an energy efficient mode similar to the economy setting. The fan keeps running but cycles the compressor down to 50%. Technology is designed to be set and forget, so you won't have to do anything, nor should you notice any significant difference to your comfort. I'd like to talk to the 170,000 people who had their air conditioners, or the 170. I mean, it was probably not 170,000. I mean, certain ones have been done 170,000 times. It makes sense in my head. I hope it makes sense in yours. But, I'd like to talk to the people who have been affected. And did they notice? Because they're making an article out of it, so somebody's noticed. And at Sunshine Coast Business Salty Air said he urged clients to think twice about having a Peak Smart meter installed because it meant Ergon and Energy could take control of their units on the hottest days of the year. It doesn't make sense. To what extent is it controlled, and how often do they use it? And I'd like to know where do they stop? They've even got a YouTube video for it.
Have you ever driven down a highway and felt like you're the only person on the road, and the next day been on the same road stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic? Or have you ever caught a train and had the freedom to sit wherever you want, and the next time you catch the train, it feels like a sardine tin? That's the effect of peak hour. And just like transport, the electricity network also feels the impact of lots of people wanting to use the same thing at the same time. We call this peak demand. For homes and businesses in southeast Queensland, keeping cool on those extremely hot days and warm on those really cold ones is important. But when we all blast our air conditioner units at the same time, it has an impact both on the network and on our power bills. Building infrastructure to cater for these peak times costs millions of dollars, which means we all end up paying more for electricity. Energex is investing in ways for homes and businesses to reduce the pressure of peak demand.
So basically what they're trying to tell me is my fault. How dare I use my aircon? I mean, what a pack of frigging criminals. I mean, it's your job to have the infrastructure. It's your job to supply this shit. And now you're going to tell us it's our fault for using this stuff. Lunatics.
And one of the solutions is PeakSmart. PeakSmart uses innovative technology developed by air conditioning manufacturers to deliver energy efficiencies in periods of high demand. Energex provides a signal receiver that's connected to the air conditioning unit by the installer. During days of peak demand, Energex sends a signal via the power lines, which talks to the unit for short periods of time and engages its inbuilt energy efficiencies to cap the unit's energy use, just the same as when you operate it in an economy mode. The technology is only activated when the electricity network reaches peak demand, only for a few hours on those few extremely hot or cold days each year. Whether you're at home or work, once connected, it's set and forget. Installing PeakSmart may help save on electricity infrastructure expenditure to cater for these peak times, and Energex is supporting people who make a positive choice through positive payback rewards. Talk to your retailer or air conditioner specialist today, or visit energex.com.au to find out how you can get PeakSmart and be rewarded with positive payback. PeakSmart Air Conditioning. It's the simple, comfortable choice.
Wow, I feel like I've had my brain shoved into a toilet. I think we can take this entire system and anything to do. And all I heard coming out of the mouth of that dude was... But it made me feel a little bit dangerous. This is ominous. So anyway, I'll get better at this soundboard one day and make things a little bit more interesting as we go. But I think we're going to have to call it a day there because it's 2 hours and a half. And I want to thank you all very much for coming and supporting the channel and Cafe Locked-Out and all the amazing artists and stuff, like what's going on with the culture thing is really inspiring, and it's got me strumming and playing again. I bought some new machine heads for my guitar the other day because it busted the strings as soon as I put the new ones on. I suppose after 25 years it probably needed some new machine heads, but anyway, I'll have something for you guys soon. And oh my god, I realize I've been going this to YouTube the whole time. Wow, I think my YouTube channel's gone dead. Well, anyway, they would have shut that down pretty quickly. No, there's no point turning it off now. It's done for. So anyway, anybody wants to support us, you know, you chuck me an email if you not interested in the Patreon construct or something to that, and we can find another way you can, you know, help us fund these endeavors here. We've of course got a GoFundMe going for our Indigenous documentary, which is on hold at the moment while we wait for certain things to come into play. Of course, there's a link tree for all the ways you can find us. If for some reason something like YouTube is going to be freaking shut down after today's one, I reckon. I wonder if they can call medical misinformation for me reciting the truth on that. I'm curious to see what happens, I guess. I actually meant to turn that off at the beginning, but I had a brain fart. So these things happen. And of course, if you're into these little QER codey things, but after the last few years, I wouldn't be surprised if you said a big fuck you to that too. Don't blame you. Just an option. Some people like doing it. There's the Bitcoin Cash people who think it's a, you know, a wonderful way of doing things. And, you know, actually, I haven't checked my Bitcoin Cash lately. Has anybody been kind? Probably have to log in because I reset my entire phone the other day. Yeah, I'll have to deal with that later. So anyway, thank you all for watching. It's been awesome. And we should hopefully have something really cool for you next week. I did have something really cool for you this week. I don't want to say too much because, yeah, you'll find out. But trust me, you're going to want to be here Friday. It's going to be good. It's going to be good, you know. Yeah. thank you very much. Cheers to you at 832, and you know, peace, love, and happiness. Live long and prosper. Nanu nanu, and have a great afternoon, people. There's I believe culture will be coming up later in the day, unless I'm somehow got it wrong. It's possible. These things have happened before. Anyway, till next time, stay free, live long and prosper.